All right, everybody, happy Wednesday. How's everyone doing today? Hope you're all doing well. Hi, John. Good to see you. All right, well, so today, we'll see how long we go. Just looking at what I planned on covering, really it will depend on how many questions there are and so forth. The markets are acting really pretty normal. And so what I thought I would do is give you my overall analysis on some of the major markets and talk a little bit about how I manage trades, and then kind of open it up all to you as well, like usual. So that's kind of the plan here. When we talked last Wednesday, again, I said I wouldn't be surprised if price is higher today than what it was last Wednesday, and in the major indexes, and looks like we hit new highs again today in the NASDAQ. I assume you can see the screen okay, folks. The charts, let me know if you can't. We hit new highs today in the E-mini. Not quite there on the Dow as far as all-time highs. We're getting close. We're getting close. And then we hit all-time highs on the Russell 2000 as well. Okay. Why is that? Because Biden's president now? Or is it because Trump was president? Or is it because we have clear direction, or we don't have clear direction? Or is it because we don't really know why? The reason why I'm being silly like that is because, remember again, folks, urgent news can move the markets quickly for a day or two, or tragedies can move it a little bit further. But the new normal, the day-to-day chaos that we have, is just a way from a trading standpoint where you can really get confused. And many of my clients will say, specifically last 2 weeks, there's no way the markets are heading higher. We've got riots going on in Washington. We've got this, we've got that. And again, nobody really knows. But what I like to present is the data, what should happen, okay? And that's really what I'm trying to drive home is we never know. At some point, the market is going to head lower, okay, without question. But the internals are not saying that yet. They're not showing that at all, okay? We're still, retailer traders around the world are still heavily short the markets. Big picture, again, I know I'm oversimplifying it, especially for some of you folks that manage money, but I keep it simple on purpose. Big picture, when you've got retailers that are shorting the markets, the institutions, the large account holders, they're the ones buying the markets. And remember, are we in a bull market right now? Are we in an uptrend? Absolutely. The trend is our friend, okay? And so when you have these movements down like right here, I know there was many of you tempted to short that. I hope you didn't, okay? Thinking, okay, we have the nice ride now. We got a new president coming in, or we got riots coming. The market's going to tank. It's time to get out, okay? And there's always reasons, right? Like John mentioned, some stimulus checks went out. Is that why maybe the markets are going up? Don't try to figure all that out. You'll drive yourself batty, okay? What you want to look at is normality, folks. What's normal, okay? If things are normal, a particular stock or futures or a Forex, if they're acting normal, okay, and you have retailers that are going the opposite direction of what you want, remember, you want to think like a professional, like an institution, then more times than not, you're going to be right versus wrong. And if you're wrong, get out, okay, based on rules we've learned. We're never right all the time. But fighting this gorgeous up move, okay, is just really going to put a dent in your account more than likely, okay? So don't do it. Don't do it. What's normal is a good question you're probably thinking. And again, here's how I look at normal, Okay, one of the reasons why I use seasonality is I want to know if something has been acting normal. Okay, so again, this is the weekly, this is actual price, right? The weekly candlesticks. I got Hakanachi candlesticks here. Okay. The white is the lag line. Basically, this is what should have happened, okay, during this window right here. Price from, and again, the way you look at this, folks, I mean, it's never going to be perfectly up or down. From left to right, okay, what's higher? That's what this dotted line helps you for. So back in November, from left to right until right now, okay, it's higher. Meaning, in this case, the NASDAQ typically heads higher during this window, okay, between 1020, the week of 1026 and right up to current price, it typically heads higher, right? That's how you read that. What had price been doing since then? It's been heading higher. So that underline is acting normal. So when I get triggers in the direction of a seasonal move, when things are acting normal, then I'll take it. Okay, I want to review this again. I know I've been talking a lot about this, but I get this question several times a day. Let's look at something like USO. Okay, this is what should have happened based on the past 10 years of seasonality starting in October 26. See how it's gone down? It should have went down. Okay, it should have went down. What did it do? It went in the opposite direction. Okay, it's been going higher. So because of that, when that was happening, you should really just skip it, right? But let me just show you. So because of that, back in December when we got a short trigger on USO, okay, I didn't want to have anything to do with it. Yeah, it could have worked out, but it didn't. Okay, one, you're fighting the overall trend, but two, at the time, it wasn't following its seasonal pattern. Its normal pattern from the last 10 years, okay? And you can adjust that to 15 or 20 as long as it's been around if you wanted to. I like 10 years, okay? So because it wasn't following it and we were in an uptrend anyway, I stayed away. Not because I'm brilliant. And the reason I say that is it took me several years to really understand this part of the seasonality, okay? If it's not acting like it should have right now over the last 10 years, it's probably a good time to pass up on it, okay? If you have to turn your head sideways to see if it's following its pattern, it's probably close enough. But I wanted to show you this one again because it's blatantly obvious. Price should have headed down and it went up, right? Oil went up. So trying to play around with that, okay, is going to lose you money more than that. Other than if you want to play it to the upside between right here, February, basically the month of February, okay? But even then, what I caution you on, we have a seasonal short coming again, okay? So if we get a retracement, you want to take it long until the end of February, you could do that. I'll eventually want to short this, okay? But as I've been showing you, when I look to short and go against a major trend, I don't take the first trigger. As long as we get a lower high, I'll take the second. Okay, I'm very patient. You've got tons and tons of stocks and ETFs and futures and Forex to trade. There's no reason not to be patient, right? So I've been letting this go, okay? Granted, it's giving you some nice triggers to the long side, okay? At some point, this is going to head lower, okay? So I hope that clarifies a little bit about, because I get it all the time, you know, Keith, in this market condition, does seasonality work? And first of all, nothing works all the time, but you can increase your probabilities by looking at it. So somebody give me a stock you want to look at right now. We'll see if it's been following its seasonal pattern. ORMP. Okay, let's take a look at that. Never heard of it. What the heck is that, Jim? ORMP. I see why you're looking at it. Okay, so let's blow this back up. From left to right, this should have headed higher, right? Everybody agree? from left to right. And price has gone higher. Okay? So it's close enough. It's close enough, right? So what am I looking for? So now we're just waiting for triggers based off of that criteria, right? It's acting like it should have, so we're good to go, okay? Now let me look at one more. So look at city. From left to right, it heads higher, okay? And it has been heading higher. So what am I looking for? Okay, well, you know, when you're looking at a seasonal perspective, we're about ready to top. So, you know, this is one, is this the top with the seasonal coming down to the lower side? I don't know. I'm not taking that first trigger though. We had earnings, right, on Citi a couple days ago. But what I can tell you is I'm only looking for the short side now after we get a lower high. So if this goes down a couple more days, let's say, I'm just making this up, okay? And then it comes back up, but it's a lower high and it turns back over. And then we get another red Hakanachi, okay? Then I'll look to take that. But because of this massive uptrend, I don't want to try to pick up a top on this one, okay? Again, it doesn't mean you can't. I'm just showing you what I do, okay? So again, following its seasonal pattern is a key ingredient. That's why I really wanted to focus on that today. I'll probably do a whole webinar on that soon because many people don't understand that or don't get it or they forget to look at it. Even some of you that have my seasonal indicator will go and review. You say, you know, well, why didn't this work out? And sometimes it's just because it doesn't work out, right? I mean, let's just be honest. But many cases, because again, I learned this lesson a few years ago, it's not following its seasonal pattern, okay? So wait until the next time or grab something else. There's so many opportunities out there, okay? Okay, so let me make sure I'm recording this. I sure hope I did. Let's see. Yep, it's recording. Okay. Okay, so let's grab the dollar index. So it's getting very interesting, right? Let me scooch this over just a tad. It's getting very interesting because now from left to right, we should be heading higher. Okay, we've been in that massive downtrend. So remember, we were looking to short. We hit a low, you know, finally a new low. We kept hitting lows. Now the question is this rolling right back over to test those lows? Okay. You know, we've got what? Another week or so, then we kind of consolidate before we head higher. So again, you could talk me into doing a short play here if the Laguerre starts heading down because of this massive trend. But what also could happen was it could come down, make a higher low, and that could be the change in the direction, right? So right now, I'm not too super excited about trading the dollar index because I kind of want to see how it pans out. Bigger picture, it's actually fairly sideways, okay, until later on in the year. But you know, we typically get higher until February 22nd, big picture, okay? So if we get a higher low, we could look at taking it low. But because of the downtrend, you know, I like this Hakanachi turning back down with the Laguerre as well to the short side. So I'm going to be on the sidelines on this. That was a nice move down. Just let's not fight it, okay? All right, let me clear that drawing up. Bear with me. Okay. So remember, you know, on the gold trade, right? We made money on the, well, hopefully you made money on the gold trade because if you didn't manage it properly, you didn't, or you're still in it, right? Remember, I took a 50% profit on Nugget, and then I got stopped out on the rest of that trade, and that's fine. I made enough money for Christmas presents, okay? Just not as much as I usually make, but we'll still take it, right? So, but again, I love this trade until mid-February. So we're getting close again, right? Look at today's price action. Look at the Laguerre. Okay, I may be looking to do another long gold play. Okay, so I'm keeping an eye on that right now. That's a pretty nice looking wick and a nice up move today. So that's why it's about managing the trades, right? Taking some profits, reducing your risk, so that if something like this does happen, right, you still made some money. Now we're getting a better entry, in my opinion. Okay. So we're waiting to see on that. But keep an eye on that. Let's see what something like Nugget looks like. Ah, not bad, not bad. Okay. Kind of have a trending up. Again, this, this is almost a double bottom here. It'll probably retest that, that recent high up here. Okay. But wait for a trigger. Also notice on Nugget, the ADX is right around 15, so it's close to yellow. Okay, but it's a little consolidation as well there. Okay. All right, so Bitcoin. Remember I mentioned last week, because there's a lot of stocks that have correlations with Bitcoin. I don't recommend trading the Bitcoin futures unless you have about a $10 million trading account. And then even then you should be careful. But again, the trend is our friend. But remember, January is typically a bearish month in Bitcoin. So we basically hit this high at 42,730, and now it's consolidating. Okay. Is it consolidating to go higher or lower? Nobody really knows at this point, right? One thing to note, though, is typically January is a pretty bearish month, and it's really not. It's just kind of hanging out sideways now after the move up. So it's a little bit stronger than its typical seasonal pattern, which means, once you get back in, let me bring up something here. Okay, that you could trade, right? The Bitcoin, Grayscale Bitcoin GBTC. Okay. This is giving us opportunities for a longer play. I'm hoping it falls further first before we get into the February, March long. I do believe Bitcoin in general is going to have a bigger move down before it hits new highs again. But this is telling me a lot this month that maybe not. Maybe Bitcoin is here to stay and head higher. It's giving us a little bit of a bounce, right? You can go down if you got in, with a new trigger. You've got room to the upside here, but just be careful with Bitcoin. It hasn't been around long enough to give us true seasonal data. January is typically a pretty bearish month, and it really hasn't been, right? So in February with a long trigger, that might be an opportunity, but just be patient on that, okay? And the reason I'm not bringing up all these watch lists, my Thinkorswim is still acting slow, folks. Sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's slow. And I know it's all of you are having those problems. Keep putting tickets in and complaining to Thinkorswim so that they fix it, okay? So the reason I don't want to change this right now is because I'm afraid we'll just get hung up like we did a couple weeks ago, okay? Okay, so let's take a look at some of the grains. Because remember, for every future, you can trade something in the stock market if you only trade options and stocks, okay? So we were in this uptrend, right? Look at the beautiful exit point though. So, basically today let's say you exit right here and you got in right here, okay? You made good 80+% of that trade, okay? And that's what I love about using the Laguerre in combination of getting out with the Hackenacci dot, red dot, is you never know, was the high here? Was it going to be here? Was it going to be here? What about here? Or hey, what about here? Right? Hackenacci has been telling us this entire time, there's no need to worry. We're going to continue to head higher, right? And then we kept hitting new highs. Then we got an indecisive, okay? And then today, we get the red dot. We actually got a combination trigger short, okay? Am I looking to short this? Absolutely not, but if you got in this trade and you're out now, after the retracement happens, you can look to get right back in basically until May on soybeans, okay, which again could be something like SOYB, okay. But that's how you can really help manage that trade. So let me talk about managing trades for just a minute. And again, this is what I do. Everybody does things differently. There's no perfect right answer. Okay, I just like to share what I'm doing. And so when I manage a trade, when I get into a trade, okay, and I'm talking options at this point versus the outright futures or Forex, okay? But when I get into a trade, typically I'll take profits, partial profits, at around 50%, okay? So if I get in at $1 option, okay, once I get filled, I put a limit order out there for $1.50, okay? If I did 5 contracts, or let's say 6 contracts, okay, usually I'll get rid of half of my position at a 50% profit, okay? Then I keep the rest open until I get a red dot. It's that simple. Or a break even, right? I'm not going to turn that into a losing trade, okay? So that's how you can get some runners. You don't know which ones are going to be, right? If you go back to the corn trade, right? Going back here on the trigger on December 15th, we had no idea. We knew there was a seasonal bias to the upside, right? That's why I took it. We had no idea that we would literally still potentially be in that trade, right? We had no idea. So even today's price action, you could still be in this trade. I kept moving my stop up and I got wicked out right here on the second part of my trade. Again, fantastic trade. But my point is, on these triggers with the seasonal movement, you just don't know until it happens, right? So if I didn't have my stop here and I just kept going, I didn't follow my own rule here, right? I could have kept going on that. The reason I kept tightening my stop was because Hackenacci was starting to consolidate a little bit, and it looked like me that might have been the top, okay? And you don't want to give away a bunch of profits. I understand that, but we could continue much higher on corn. So I'm actually looking to re-enter. If we get a decent retracement, I'll look to re-enter corn, okay? But that's how this can really help you, folks. It really helps decision making. I get out at 50%, I get out of half my trade, protect my risk, and you're in some quote unquote free trades at that point with a solid plan of action, right? A solid plan of action. What do you think? Look at Amazon. Trigger, green Hackenacci, great seasonal. Yeah. What do you think? Pretty good opportunity. My only concern, the ADX is still pretty low. So we may just range. It may just go back up to the top and come back. But we know Amazon's going to break out to the upside. It's just a matter of when, right? So is this the day? Is this the time we enter? That's the real question, right? I know it's expensive. You could do a debit spread though to take some profits on that, right? I got quite a few emails on Netflix. Right, we had earnings. This trade has made money since it's been around this time of year. So follow until it doesn't work anymore, right? I hope you're not trying to short Tesla, folks. That's suicide. We had a new re-enter on 12/28, and then you would have exited right here on 119. Again, getting a nice bulk of that trade, right? But you didn't know. This could have continued higher, and it will. It'll probably continue to break new highs. You can always look to re-enter, right? You got earnings coming up on the 27th. That'll be interesting to see what happens, right? Okay. Yeah, so when I'm managing trades, and I'm talking at this point specifically with options, okay? Typically what I will do, folks, is if you're in the trade, okay, so let's say you took this trade and you're in it right back here, okay? Once you're up 50%, I take half of my position off, and then literally I'll stay in until the next red dot, okay? Unless it goes against me and I, break even on the rest of the trade, okay? So that's how I manage it. Now, if it goes against me, I have one of two rules. At the end of the day, I'll check my charts. If I'm down more than 50%, as a general rule, there are some exceptions, which I don't need to really go into right now, depending on how long the option is. If I'm doing a leap, okay, I'm not exiting the trade. But general rule, if I'm down 50% or more, then I'll exit the trade the next open, okay? Or what I've started doing late last year, testing it back and forth, is if you get in the trade and then within 3 or 4 dots, it turns back to red, and maybe you're only down 20%, just as a theoretical. I'll exit that as a smaller loss than the 50% potential, because I just look to re-enter if and when it turns around. If it doesn't, then I save myself some money. But if it does, I can get right back in. Okay, so that's how I manage it. Okay, when especially via options. Okay. Okay, any questions on that? So again, let's look at AMD as another sample here. Okay, this is what you should be looking at, folks. From left to right, it should have headed higher, and it has been, right? It's about as good as it gets following its seasonal pattern on AMD, right? Okay, so we know it's been following its seasonal pattern. Now we're just waiting for that trigger, that Laguerre to come in, back through, give me a green dot, give me a green Hackenacci here, okay? That's what we're looking for, right? I am highly certain within the next month, I'll be doing a public trade in the alert service along AMD play, right? Look at that, up until August, okay? But I don't want to jump in early, because what if we get lucky and this comes down more and gives us a better price, right? That's why you have to wait. You have to wait on following the rules. When I say rules, these are my rules. You may have different ones, but you have to have rules and you have to follow them. Just getting into a trade because Kramer said so, or somebody on CNB said so, okay? It may work once in a while, but that's not a real plan, and you'll definitely lose money that way, okay? All right. Yeah, I still do debit spreads. Yep. For example, a good example would be, let's say you're like, oh man, I want to take that Amazon trade, but it's too expensive, right? Let's say you wanted to take that, right? You could do a debit spread on this, right? They're $5 strikes, I believe. And so let me show you. Okay. So on Amazon here, let's say you wanted to go out 58 days. Okay, you got to find the volume. But let's just assume there was enough volume here there's 3240, 3245. So you could, buy and sell, one transaction. And there's not enough open interest for me here. I'm just giving it as an example though. Okay. And that way, if you get in at half of the spread or better, like 2.5, so for a $5 spread, if you got in at 250 or less, okay, so let's say you got in at 250 on Amazon spread, you're risking $250 a contract, versus if you're doing a one-sided call on that, it's going to cost you Look how much money that's going to cost you, $20,000. Okay. So the benefit of a spread is you can still make up to 100% return on that and trade your favorite stocks that are expensive. Okay. I always get the question, what's the downfall of the spreads? I mean, the only downfall is, and again, if you want to call it a downfall, is you max out your profits. You can only make so much on it. There's a ceiling, right? With a straight call, there's no ceiling, right? You know, so for example, if you were in Netflix, which I know some of you were, and this let's say the next 3 days it continues up and it's at 640, 700, okay? You can continue to grow that. Where with the spread, you've already earned what you could earn. Okay. That's a good problem to have, right? I've never heard of a person yet that did a spread that's emailed me mad that they only made 80, 90% on a trade. Okay. Getting in much cheaper, much less risk. Okay. But if you have a larger account and you can handle those trades, you just made a lot of money on Netflix. Okay, so again, something like Broadcom, folks. Let's take a look. Let's go back to the rules. Left to right, typically Broadcom goes higher, and it has been. Okay? So what are we looking for? We're looking for enters. So on 11.4 was an entry point, and then you would exit right here. Okay, nice trade. Re-enter when it curves back up with a green dot. Okay, you could be in this trade, exit right here. New recent entry here. Okay, I have rules that I don't usually get into it if price is above the middle band, right at new highs. Okay, I don't think there's a lot of room to grow. I want to see this pull back at this point, but when Broadcom pulls back and then gives me a new long entry, of course I'm going to take it, right? So that's my simple thinking, letting the probabilities make decisions for me. Okay. Do I have FOMO here? Am I afraid I'm going to miss out and this is going to keep going based off of that? Absolutely not. Because if it moves without me, great. At some point it'll pull back and we'll get it. Okay. But to get in at the high right now, more than likely you're going to get a pullback, folks. Okay. So unless you're looking at holding on Broadcom for a longer duration, or do an end of the year option play, I would still hold off and wait for a better entry. Okay. That's right, John. Just wait for the indicators to line up. It's just easier said than done for many. Absolutely. We're also getting some divergence, which could just mean, again, that not that we're going to have a crash on Broadcom, but that we might get the pullback. The next pullback to the middle band within a new trigger would be a good opportunity for me. Okay. All right, so let me sort by SIG here. What I'm looking for is, right now, I'm really focused more on the greens with the Laguerre trigger. So let's just take a look at a few of them. Okay. All right, so here's a case. We got a Laguerre trigger, combo long, green Hackenacci on AG. Nice trigger. A good seasonal, right? It's a good opportunity. If you got in it this morning, I do like to see a little bit. If I was gonna aggressively go in here, the option play I would try to get in a little bit cheaper, because again, we are above that middle band. The high is right here. There's not a ton of room to hit the new, before it hits new highs. But if you did an option play up until August or so, real good opportunity, right? So again, you're not looking at junk, folks. You're looking at things that are going to give you a higher probability to make money, right? That's what we need to do to be successful in this. That's why I'm holding these webinars, because there's some stocks I never even look at because they're never showing up on high probability opportunities. Okay. Obviously, we looked at Amazon today. That triggered. Again, as a longer term play, I love it. So ATVI, again, I'm going to hold off, right? Why? We hit new highs today. I need a pullback. Maybe earnings will provide the pullback, okay? But I'm not just going to go in even if I miss out on that. Yeah, Jim, typically when I do a debit spread, if there's enough open interest at both strikes, I'll do an at the money, out of the money one, okay? Those are my favorites. You have to move up the chain a little bit depending on open interest. So keep an eye on that so you don't get stuck in a trade without able to exit out, okay? All right, so what else here? CRM, Salesforce. So this is one of my favorite trades. I should say one of my favorite stocks to trade, but why am I not excited about this right now? So from left to right, we typically, from this point right here, December 14th, the week of December 14th to right now, we typically head higher, right? We've been heading lower pretty significantly. See how you can tell the difference there? So I'm going to skip this for now, whether it works or not, okay? I mean, we got a trigger. Maybe this will break out, but it hasn't been following this pattern as well as I would like, okay? So I'll wait, because if it breaks out, comes back and gives me an enter, more than likely, folks, with that seasonal move on Salesforce, we'll get a re-entry somewhere else, okay? What about Disney? Not bad, right? We got a green Hackenacci candle, which means a yellow dot. The Laguerre's kind of, it started to trigger, now it's not. We got a little bit of room to highs, but it's been in that massive trend, right? So if I was going to trade Disney right now, I would actually want to give it a little bit of time. I would probably do a July, August type expiration, okay? Personally, I like to see a little bit more of a retracement. I know a lot of you are thinking, how the heck is Disney even making money? It's their movies and streaming, isn't it? EA, again, great seasonal move, good trigger. We're pretty close to highs here, so just be careful. But this is exactly what I do every day, folks. I just pick and choose the ones that look the best to me, okay? Herbalife, again, I actually like this one. The only thing I don't like is price is above the middle band, but the band's pretty wide. So as long as you can make enough money between here and the high, okay, that's an opportunity. Good seasonal move on Herbalife. Infinera, or how the hell you say that, right? Trigger, green dots. It came down to the bottom band. Seasonality isn't going for too long, but it's there for a little bit with that nice uptrend. That's an opportunity for you. Interesting here, you got MA, right? ADX is picking up now. You got a nice long here. These are the ones that are attempting to do a longer term play if you can afford it, right? So I just went through the ones that matter to me, folks, with the 1.0s, and I looked at the Laguerre triggers, okay? I can also do a scan if I'm just looking at potential opportunities with yellow to green Hackenaccis. Again, I don't know how this is going to work right now. Let's see if it takes too long, just because Thinkorswim has been a big pain in the butt recently. I'm just looking for things that have gone from a yellow to a green dot, okay? So we'll see if that ends up coming up here in a minute. Okay. So that's really what I'm looking at. Okay. That's how I look at it. I've got, out of all the stocks, these are my focus points right now. You can look at something like Baidu, right? No trigger yet. It triggered back here. But now you're just waiting, right? Get that retracement, and then look to go back long. You know, that's why we like to see having a plan of action. This is our plan of action with the Laguerre trigger, the Hackenacci dots for high probability trading. Okay. Yeah, it's holding up right now. Very frustrating how slow they are. All right, GMAB, let's take a look. Sure. So it hasn't been around long enough for me to show seasonal data. Obviously, I'd be looking for longs more than shorts from the trend. We did have some divergence here, or potential divergence, yeah, right here. So you might get a retracement before it heads higher. I would wait for that, you know, before you went long on that. I wouldn't look at shorting it though. ADAP, same thing, not enough seasonal data. I don't really like the chart either, other than maybe to the short side, but I don't have enough data to tell me if that's a good play from a seasonal approach, but I would only be looking for short plays on ADAP, okay? 3M. So it should have been heading up. Price has been heading up for the most part. Again, we did have the couple weeks down, but again, I look for big picture. I had to turn my head sideways here, so it's following it good enough. Okay, it's following it good enough. Okay, now we have some sideways seasonality though, right? So that's a little riskier trade, but what I do like about 3M, right? You got to trigger a dot, and it's basically been respecting that bottom band to come back up here. Okay, but be careful, you got earnings, right, on the 26th. So me personally, I would pass on this, but I do like it to the upside. Yeah. Let me check one more time. Is it? Yeah. Let's see. It timed out. Let me try just doing weeklies. There we go. So everything that just showed up here, okay, it has a yellow to green. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to save this watch list. I'm going to call it yellow to green 1-20. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is go over here and find it. So personal yellow to green 1-20. Okay. So now I just brought up the ones that had green, yellow to green dots, and then you can even look at your trigger. So ED, see how it, let me blow this up. So it went from yellow to green. That's why it showed up on the scan, okay? KHC, yellow to green. Oh, and here's one, yellow to green at highs, okay? So everything on this list though went from yellow to green. So you can kind of go through them with the trigger, with the you know, Laguerre trigger as well to see if you like any of those. Or if you're looking at getting into something like Google, okay, you could say is now the time, which no, I don't think so, but it went from yellow to green. ADX is red. You know, yellow to green here. Home Depot with that move. You know, maybe you like that. So again, it's just kind of things I do between the Laguerre scans, the Hackenacci. You know, I can do all of this in well under an hour with all three markets, futures, forex, and stocks. And I feel like I'm just looking at high probabilities. And that's why I like showing you this each week is I'm not doing anything different. This is what I do week in and week out. Okay. All right, folks. Well, again, I hope you enjoyed. So again, let me just kind of summarize. Let me go back to the NASDAQ. So Do I think we'll be higher next Wednesday versus this Wednesday? I do. I do think next Wednesday will be higher. Remember, when we get these pullbacks to the middle band in a wick like that, that's telling you that all the buyers are coming back in to buy that up. So normal. This is not a market crash. This is a normal retracement in the market, and you need to understand that and get used to that. Okay, that even in a strong uptrend, every day can't go up. It's not going to. Okay, and even though as we speak we're at highs today, you know, I do think we'll continue higher based off of retailers shorting the markets, based off of seasonal movement. So what you can do is, especially for you stock traders, pick the ones that give you the triggers in the direction of that trend. That's how you can ensure your higher probability opportunities there. Okay. All right, folks. Well, again, I look forward to talking to you all next week. Have a great rest of the week, and please reach out if you have any questions, folks. Okay. All right. Wish you the best. Take care now.